Hey, what's up, guys? This is Rob, and welcome back to Rule of Two Review, where today I'm going to finally discuss my thoughts on Nintendo's Amiibo. Okay, so I know it's been over a week since I've been able to make a video for Rule of Two Review, so sorry for any of you out there who've been waiting for me to get some more content up. Just been really busy, and it just hasn't been a very good time for me to be making a lot of videos, and that's probably going to continue even soon into the future for a little bit. But I happen to be able to have some time, be able to kind of make a video, discuss my thoughts on this today, so I was really excited to be able to do so. Like I mentioned in my intro, I'm talking about the Amiibo project by Nintendo. Something I've kind of been really excited to talk about for a while because I am, of course, a huge Nintendo fan. They are my favorite company. And I want to support them in most of their ventures, especially something that could potentially become really successful for them or help make a lot of money and generate really solid profit for them. Considering their financial situation the last year and a half or so, even though it's steadily getting better, it's still been rough. You know, we all know it's been very public information, the changes in projections and sales, software and hardware-wise for both the Wii U and the 3DS, even though the 3DS is still doing very well. All that stuff kind of has been, leading towards not the best signs for them financially for the near future. They've also posted a couple losses the last fiscal quarters, and that's really too bad. No one likes to see that stuff, especially for a company that normally does so well. But again, things are on the uptick. The 3DS is still doing great overall. It's one of the best-selling pieces of hardware in the world consistently. The Wii U is doing better and better. Mario Kart 8 really has helped, and they're probably going to smash their $3 million unit projected Wii U sales for the holiday this year. I think they're going to devastate that, especially with Smash Brothers and Bayonetta and all sorts of other great things coming out this year. And the other thing, of course, that they are doing is the Amiibo project. And most of us probably know the Amiibo thing that was revealed finally at E3 this past June, where they discussed what the NFC or near field communications functionality of the gamepad for the Wii U is actually going to do, at least on Nintendo's side. They showed a bunch of different figures, all Nintendo related: Mario, Samus, Luigi, probably a Kirby or a Pit. I mean, there's just, lots of the standard kind of characters that you would probably imagine Nintendo related that exist in figure form, very small, probably a couple inches tall, and they're meant to set on the NFC's little section of the gamepad and interact with the game that you're playing in the world of Nintendo stuff, kind of relating to whatever specific game you're using it for. Now, I certainly have been excited to see what Nintendo is going to be doing with the NFC technology since they first kind of unveiled it way back in 2011 and 12 before the Wii U launched. There was a really great Ubisoft commercial for like Rayman that kind of showed that you could do some things, and they hinted at Assassin's Creed being used. And it just really kind of, if anything, at least for me at that time, again, before the Wii U had come out, it just got my mind wandering in all the different places that gaming could go using this kind of really cool, unique, fun idea. It never really seemed like anything that was going to be completely revolutionary, like it was going to change the way games looked and acted and how we reacted with them and stuff going forward. But I thought it was going to be a really cool new way to do some fun things with certain games. And especially when he took that Ezio or whatever, that, one of the random Assassin's Creed guy dolls and set it on his controller like that was going to be the cool big thing, and then that was the end of the commercial. And I was like, man, that's badass. Like, I wonder what they could do with that stuff. Like, that's pretty cool. And then, of course, we hadn't heard hide nor hair of it for the last 2 years, a year and a half, I should say, since the Wii U has been out, at least from Nintendo specifically. And that's kind of been a shame. I actually almost all but forgot about it until the last several months when rumblings of the idea started to come up again, and it was becoming obvious that Nintendo had a plan, and then that they were probably going to reveal it at E3, and then sure enough, they did. At their digital event for E3, they actually spent a good amount of time discussing, the early ideas on what's going to be happening with the figures and with the whole concept of the Amiibo project. So I'm sure most of us saw what Nintendo showed at E3 and a lot of the Treehouse stuff that happened afterwards where Bill Trinan was kind of doing some presentations. And it's tough because we don't really know a whole lot about it yet, except for some basic things. It is supposed to be launching this year, so that's the cool, exciting thing, is we know we're going to get to finally get our hands on these and get an idea of what's actually going on before the end of 2014. Mostly because Smash Brothers comes out by the end of this year, the Wii U version, and the Wii U version is going to be, I think, the first game that is going to be using these Amiibo figures. They spent a lot of time detailing how the figures are going to like each individual figure, like a Mario figure, is going to be that Mario's character that you can train, battle against, train with, build up certain stats and specifications within that figure itself. And then, of course, all the specifications and the fighter that you build of Mario's character then exists within that amiibo. And you can take it to anybody's Wii U and anyone's gamepad or whatever, and you could put that fighter in that person's Smash Brothers on their Wii U, and then bam, that's what you're using. And everything that you've spent all this time creating and crafting for that specific character becomes a universally usable thing in any Smash Brothers anywhere. That's pretty cool. It's not like revolutionary, but it's cool. A lot of that, I think a lot of the coolness and the functionality of that is really going to come down to how practical it's going to feel to Smash Brothers specifically. This is one game and one game's usage of it. They also talked about how it's going to be usable with Mario Kart 8 in the future. That's a really cool and exciting prospect. I just want to know what that is. I mean, I really hope it doesn't turn out to be something just completely stupid and worthless. I mean, that's, I think, probably the one fear that a lot of us have. I know I sort of have that with this, is that, yes, they're cool little collectible figurines to get, but we're also trying to have them serve practical functions within the games that we play and within Nintendo's universes. And what are they going to do there that's going to actually make gaming feel better, or at least neater, like kind of funner to do in just a different way? And there's certainly the potential for it to really just sort of be a bust and nothing really that cool. I ultimately have faith, though, just because I believe in Nintendo, and most of their wacky ideas end up panning out. The occasional one doesn't, but I do think that this one probably will. I think that they're going to do some pretty cool things within their universes. What I really think would be neat, I don't know how they would do this, but if they could make a game specifically around this, to use Nintendo's characters and the Amiibo figures for a game specifically around this, kind of similar to Skylanders. Now, here's the thing, is that's kind of treading dangerous water, because what you end up talking about is one game that ends up, requiring a serious monetary investment. I mean, you might have to spend $150 to buy the $60 game, and then all these little Amiibo figures, let's say they sell for between $5 and $10, and maybe you need 20 of them. I mean, shit, that's $200 right there. I mean, if depending on the pricing and what the idea would actually be. So I think that there's a potential for a really awesome game, because Nintendo knows how to take their kooky ideas and actually explore and exhibit them in ways that actually make sense. They do the best with their own ideas. That's just the way it is. That's the way it was with the Wii for the most part. They made the best games using the Wii remote, and so far that's what it seems to be happening with the Wii U, where they're making the best games using the gamepad. And with the Amiibos, they would probably make the best games using those, especially considering that they're Nintendo first-party things anyway. So that game idea, I think, is a really neat concept that has the potential to be a really expensive investment for what might not be a great game, or if they handle it right, the game could be so good that it wouldn't even matter. I mean, they would have to really show us what these things could do. It would also be really neat if eventually third parties can get into making Amiibos, like the easy one that comes to mind just because it's current and relevant is, what if a Bayonetta figure becomes created? And you can use that in Bayonetta 2 and then the Bayonetta 3 that Platinum Games talks about wanting to make, and those characters within that game, or Monster Hunter figures, since that franchise is exclusive to Nintendo. Obviously, Pokemon is a huge one. I detailed this when they first were rumors about the Nintendo NFC figures and stuff, and I was like, dude, they should make like a legit Pokemon game. I know they made like a Pokemon Rumble Wii U or something. I don't know if that's a real game. Something that uses little Pokemon figures for the NFC things, and I guess that was kind of cool, but screw that. I'm not talking about a little thing. I'm talking about the big freaking console, MMO, gigantic HD, massive flippin' RPG game experience, that's like, like a Skyrim or Zelda-sized world, only you're doing Pokemon things. And again, I reiterate this, I'm not actually a Pokemon fan, but most of the world is. And this would make so much unfreaking believable money for Nintendo that they need to do this and make those figures work within that game. I think that the most important thing that Nintendo needs to remember with this idea and this plan going forward, and I think that they are conscious of this because they've kind of discussed this, especially during E3, is what they don't ever want to do, and this goes against the idea of the game that I was just thinking about, but still, what they don't ever want to do, and I agree with this, they never should do this, is to make a game really, really require these things. You don't want the next Smash Brothers to come out and be half a game if you don't have $100 worth of these Amiibo figures sitting around. Every game, I think, needs to be complete and 100% itself without the necessity to have these figures. It needs to be a completed vision and concept of the game itself. And these figures and everything that they can do should only be supplementary. They should be additional, surplus material that we can enjoy if, in fact, you want to invest in having these and if you want to get them. But if you don't, you're still going to get the complete, excellent game in and of itself, whatever that game is meant to be. So that is the other fine line that they need to walk with this going forward. And luckily, everything we've heard them say about it so far seems to hint that they understand that, and that's going to be their plans going forward. However, going back to my game idea, I think that still doesn't necessarily rule out the idea of making a game that really focuses on these and makes use of them going forward. If it's presented that way from the get-go, from the concept stages like Disney Infinity and Skylanders, I think that they could be doing a fine thing. So, and that honestly, now that the more that I think about it, it's probably going to happen. They would be silly not to do it, but the question is, what kind of game is it going to be if you're going to have all the Nintendo characters in one game and have it not be Smash Brothers? So we'll kind of have to see what they're going to do going forward. Ultimately, in wrapping up the video here, yes, there's potential for this to not really be an abysmal failure. I don't think it's going to be a failure. But as far as its execution, it has potential to really just be kind of like a blah, like a blip on the radar and like nothing really exceptional for gaming that people don't really care about too much. It does have that, distinct possibility, but ultimately I have faith. I think that they're going to do cool things with it gaming-wise when they talk about Mario Kart and Smash Brothers and maybe down the road with like Metroid and Zelda. I mean, there's really cool ideas that I think we can all think of for games that we love. Fire Emblem, I feel like, would be a really great series for these two now that I think about it. So, and Pokemon, so there's so many things that they can do. And I think that they're going to eventually do them, and I think that these are going to turn out to be okay. It's probably a very small investment for Nintendo monetarily, and it's going to have a huge return. I'm willing to bet every figure sold, even if it's sold at $5 or $10, is probably going to, be making, 50% profit or something for them. And people will buy them like crazy. A lot of people want to just collect these things. I do have to say that even as like a nerdy collector of things gaming and movie related, and as the humongous, massive, gigantic Nintendo fan that I am, I actually am not excited about these from the collector standpoint, probably just because I know there's just going to be so goddamn many, and I don't want to deal with that. If their functionality within the games I want to play is good, that's why I'm going to buy them. I'm not really thinking about the collector side of this right now, mostly because they're not collector's things. They're probably going to be fairly cheaply made. They're just going to have this chip inside of them that stores information and data. That's what I want from them. Just give me the game enhancement features, and that's the reason I'm going to buy any of these, if at all, except for the Samus one. Any Samus one or Metroid-related one that is ever made, those I will buy hands down regardless, just because I'm a humongous Metroid fan. But as far as the entire idea and concept of Amiibos, I'm only going to be buying them for gameplay purposes. That's it. I don't want to collect them. I want to make my games better, and I want to have a new fun way to mess around with gaming and game experiences. That's what's exciting to me personally. Okay, and so on that note, I'm probably going to go ahead and end the video here. Shared a lot of feelings on Amiibo and what's going on there. So these are all my thoughts. Again, I'm a Nintendo super fan. What do you think? Are you or are you not a Nintendo fan? And based on your feelings and your stance, what do you think about Amiibos? What do you think about the project and the potential for them down the road, the few things we know about what they're trying to do so far, and if you think they're going to be a big deal or not a big deal or successful for Nintendo? I think that they're going to ultimately make a lot of money for Nintendo. It's going to help Nintendo get back a lot of the revenue that they've been struggling with the last 2 years, and I think it's going to ultimately be a good thing and hopefully just be a fun thing for us, the gamer, get gamers excited. That's the most important thing here, and I think that they're going to do that. So very, very excited to see what happens there. If anything, it's a lot of it's a mystery now, but we're definitely going to know by the end of the year. So let's just, all kind of wait and see. So that's it. Thanks for tuning in. Of course, if you like what I'm doing and you like Rule of Two Review, then you should please feel free to subscribe to the channel. It helps me and Rule of Two Review out big time. Spreads the content across YouTube and the internet's much faster that way, so definitely appreciate it. You can follow the links below to the Facebook page for Rule of Two Review that I run, and to the Twitter. And of course, if you like this exact video, you can like and share it, and you should share your comments and your thoughts about Amiibo below. And that is pretty much it. So thanks for tuning in, and of course, I will catch you guys next time.